In this video, I'm going to help you decide what type of video that you should be creating so that you can publish video content to social media like TikTok or LinkedIn or to Instagram. How do you decide what type of video to create? Is it this talking head style video that I'm recording here on YouTube, the same kind of stuff that you can publish on TikTok? Or are you going to record something longer like a podcast or a webinar or a live Q&A where you can go back through that content and pick out short little clips that you can pull and then post those to social media? So a couple things to think through before you get started. So let's get into it. Now, just to clarify, here's an example of a talking head video where I am looking straight at the camera and I'm giving a very specific message. Just like I am on this YouTube video, I thought about what I was going to say, I scripted it out, and then I sat down in front of the camera, I looked directly at it, and I started to prepare my message and then record that video. But there are other options. This clip here is me on a podcast, so I'm actually looking at the host right now, and I have a video camera that's off to the side, and it's recording me as I speak, and then later on, I can go through that video and pull out those short clips, and then I can turn them into clips that you're now seeing here on TikTok. Now, of course, you can do both of these types of videos. As you can see on my TikTok channel, I'm doing both of those. I'm looking directly into the camera and I'm giving a specific message, and I'm also taking longer form content. In this case, I was a guest on a podcast and I recorded that, and then I was able to go through that podcast and I took out the little bits of the video where I looked smart and I thought I was saying something that was interesting. But the thing is when you're first getting going, trying to do both of these at the same time can be a little overwhelming. And when I'm working with clients, I'm really trying to reduce the amount of new things that they're trying to do so they can get up and running and get that video recorded and get it published on social media. Because once you do that, you get a lot of feedback and you get a lot of momentum by making those wins. So let's talk a little bit about how you would decide whether to talk directly into the camera or maybe launching that podcast so you can pull out clips for social media. So again, we're talking about, is it selfie video or is it repurposed long form video? So as with most things, there is pros and cons to both of those styles. So one of the pros to recording a selfie style video is that it's a very targeted message around some problem solving. So you can really sit down and articulate a message and then deliver that to the camera in a really articulated way. Sometimes when you're on a podcast, you're just kind of talking off the top of your head. And while it might be a great message, it might not be articulated as well as it could be. So this just gives you a chance to really sit down and hone that message. And then on that note, you really get good at conveying your thoughts. So by now I've recorded several thousand videos and I've just gotten really good at doing video. And so that's a skill that I can take with me no matter what I do. And so that is a skill that you're going to want to develop. And that is a pro to sitting down and recording one after another of these videos where you're just looking into the camera and getting good at doing it. It's also one of the best ways to get rapid awareness. You see, when you jump onto social media and nobody knows who you are, it's the quality of the message that's going to determine how fast you grow. And sometimes when you're pulling clips from social media or a podcast, the clip doesn't have quite as much context. It might start in an odd spot. It might end in an odd spot. It just might not have the value that someone can latch onto right away. And so it could take a little bit longer for people to get to know you and to follow you. And it's also relatively straightforward to get going. You have to sit down, come up with a couple ideas, script those out, but you can even just grab your phone and just record those videos and publish them to social media. Now, in terms of the cons, this does require you to come up with the content ideas on a regular basis. So when people are busy, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when you haven't come up with an idea recently or you feel like you keep coming up with the same ideas. It can be a little overwhelming, especially when you're busy, to come up with new ideas all the time. And you are going to have to overcome the fears and anxiety of getting on camera. You know, this was something that I suffered from a lot. I was totally afraid to get on camera before I did. So believe it or not, this was something that I was afraid of myself, getting on camera. I had a lot of fear around that. I ultimately believed that it was going to work and I committed. That's how I was able to get over it. But I guarantee you, before I created that video, I had a lot of sleepless nights thinking about it. So this is something that you have to get over. I promise you there is a way to help you get through that, but it is something you'll have to tackle. And then again, of course, you're going to have to spend some time developing the skill to convey your ideas. So if you look back at some of my initial videos, they're pretty funny to watch now. I've gotten a lot better and so will you, but it is something that you're going to have to think about, and it's not going to happen overnight unless you're just a natural to create really good videos that turns people that don't know who you are into your clients. So now let's talk a little bit about repurposed long form video content. So again, this is where we're taking a long form recording like a podcast or being a guest on a podcast or a webinar or a live Q&A, and we're going through that recording and we're pulling out short clips that we can pull and edit those out and post those to social media. Now, one of the best things about that is that you have less planning around specific content ideas, and that podcasts and live Q&As and these different events have a networking effect. That means if I ran a podcast, I could bring on potential clients as guests where I could easily talk with them. I could bring on other influencers or other important people in my industry. So as a result of recording that event, I can actually do business networking at the same time. So I'm getting content and I'm also networking. And then I really don't have to articulate my ideas as much. I'm just really getting content content through discussion. I'm in the moment, just being who I am and responding in kind and creating content from it. But again, some of the cons, you're gonna have to set up a show. You're gonna have to come up with a concept, a podcast, and you're gonna have to schedule interviews and create topics, unless you're just recording existing sales or client calls, which can totally be an option. You can just literally record the calls that you're already taking now and just make sure that the recording is done in a professional way, maybe off to the side, like one of my cameras is off to the side for me right there, and you record it, and then you can just take that and chop that up into shorter clips. And then someone's gonna have to go through that recording and pick the clips and then post-produce them. So you can see in this video that somebody came in and added the captions here, and then also decided when this clip is gonna start and when is it going to end. And there is a skill in picking clips. When should it start? When should it end? Should we cut out anything in the beginning? Should we move something from the beginning to the front? So this is a skill that you're gonna have to develop. And it's just part of the game that sometimes clips may have less context or quality. And this is just what I was talking to you about before. It's a skill to pick good clips. So there you go. There's the mental frameworks that I use to help my clients kind of start to think through what is the right kind of video that you're gonna record in the beginning. You might be doing both of these things, but in the beginning, it's good to think about what am I gonna start with so I can get going, I can see the video getting produced onto social media. That's gonna give you momentum. So go ahead and think this through and then get recording. So I hope that video was valuable. Make sure to check out the next video where I break down the different types of long form content like podcasts or webinars or live Q&As. I go in depth on each of those different things, and I really try to make sure that you understand how are you going to pick what type of long form content is right for you if you're gonna go down that road. Make sure to check out that video, and I'll see you there.